Welcome to episode 9 of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the effects panel within Fusion. So let's roll this intro and let's get into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, cause we're learning Fusion together.
So within Fusion, if we look up top here, we've got this little effects panel. So if we select it, we get a little drop down with a whole bunch of different selections. And it don't look like a whole bunch, but there is a whole bunch. And what this tools is these are all the nodes available within Fusion. So if I select my little drop down, you can see it's broken up by categories. So if I select 3D, all my 3D tools will be listed. Same with all my color and all my flow nodes. And if I'm looking for my shape nodes, here's all my shape nodes. So this is the easy way to find nodes you're looking for. And to be able to use these, we can just simply drag and drop them into our little node area down here. So if I grab some footage, and we got our little footage here, and I go to color, I can just go to our film look creator, click, drag, connect it. Now we've got our film look connected to our media. And that's how that works. You just drag and drop them into your little node area. And we're going to cover actually adding nodes and connecting nodes in the next episode. But like I said, within your tools, these are all individual nodes you can use in your node trees. Under our templates, however, we have both nodes and macros and different things we can use within Fusion here. And there's also some things we can't use. Like, for instance, if I go to our edit, our titles, if we look at top, we have these animated titles right here. And these animated titles really aren't meant to be brought into Fusion. Even though it's a macro, we can kind of open them up and maybe see what's going on. But these animated titles right here are primarily meant for if we go to our little edit page. If I was to go to my timeline and create subtitles for my audio and I have my whole subtitle track, I would be able to use that animated title to animate my subtitles. So not something we really use within Fusion. However, the rest of these are. So if I was just to say, grab one, this simple yellow, and we looked at it, it's just simple yellow text. Same with our little white on purple rounded here. If I grab that, bring that in, we get our little white with purple rounded. And all these are just simple templates we can use. So these are a good way to kind of learn how they created things, like our little POW here. If I go and look at our POW, we can double click it and we can look at the node tree and see how they created that entire look right there. So under our titles, we have subtitles. And again, we have a few of these little animated things, and the rest are subtitles. If we go down to generators, these are actually things that generate different things within Fusion. So if I grabbed our 3D logo here, left to right, and we look at it, you can see this is just a little generated logo. And again, we can double click on these and see how they created them. And we can use these, or we can change them and alter them, because if we click in here, you can see we've got the ability to change whatever we need to change. So there are a whole bunch of different generated templates down here that we can bring in and use in our projects however we want. Additionally, we have transitions, and all of these are pre-built transitions. So if I wanted a crash zoom transition, I could just bring that in, but you notice we've got a background and a foreground input. So for these types of templates, we'd have to have a background and a foreground image. So now if we look, we can play it, and that's our little transition. And if we need to see how they created this, again, we can double click and we can see how they created this little crash zoom transition. And there are a bunch of them, so we can grab different ones So an RGB splitter, input our background, input our foreground. And now if we look, we've got our little transition there. And again, we can double click and see how they created this transition. So these are all good ways to learn how to create your own things based off these templates. And then under our effects tab, we just have different effects. So if I wanted to grab a digital glitch, I could grab a digital glitch, bring it in. Now we've got a digital glitch. And again, there are a whole bunch of different ones in here. So again, you can try all these out and see how they created some of these effects, and that'll help you learn some things in Fusion. Now under our Fusion option right here, these are all things that are strictly made for within Fusion. All these other ones we can use in the edit page as well. So if we're doing stuff on our edit page, we can use these effects as well. But these are strictly made for within Fusion. So, and again, it's broken up to different categories. So we've got our tools. So there's an advanced camera shake. So if I needed an advanced camera shake, I could bring that in. And now we've got an advanced camera shake. And again, we can double click on this and jump into this little macro here to see how they created it. Under our particles, we have some particle presets. So we can bring in, say, these embers. And if we look at the embers, we push play, you can see it's got little embers. And again, this is a good way to double click and see how they created this particle system. And there are a whole bunch of different ones we can test and look at. Under our lens flares, here's a whole bunch of pre-built lens flares using nodes within Fusion. And these are pretty decent. So if I brought one in, connected it, you can see we got a little lens flare. Now, I will say, being able to manipulate some of these lens flares when it comes to like the softness and all that stuff is a little difficult. Because on a lot of these templates, you see we've got all of our settings, so we can change our settings if we want. But in a lot of these, there's no way to really soften these up very well. So a better way to use this is to go ahead and disconnect that. Let's add a merge node. Bring our media into the background, our flare into the foreground. If you look though, we're not going to be able to see our flare. So to be able to see our flare, we need an input here. So we're going to bring in just a simple little background, input it. Now we can see our flare, but of course our background is in the way. So all we have to do is go to our background, drop our alpha down. Now if we go to our merge, we can see our flare there. We can even change our apply mode to screen if you want. And under our flare, we can drop a blur node. And here we can kind of control that blur a little more. So it's a little more organic and not so rough like this flare right here. And then we can come in and manipulate our flare however we want. So we can animate it. So we can stick it up there by the sun. Keyframe it. Go to the end. Change our keyframe location. So now we've got our little flare animated. We can even go to our merge and we can drop that blend down a little bit so it's not so strong. So that's just a better way to use some of these lens flares that are in there. And then under motion graphics, we just have different random motion graphics here. So for instance, we've got this little radar thing and it just creates this little radar. But again, we can get in here and see how they created this little node tree to make that radar. We have backgrounds, so we can add some of these backgrounds here. And most of them are animated. We have looks, so if we brought in our footage here, I can bring in our little posterized look, and it's going to posterize it. We have shaders, and these are for our 3D section. So if we go ahead and let's create a little 3D setup here real quick. On our shape here, let's go ahead and make this a sphere. Shrink our subdivisions, and let's shrink our sphere down a little bit. Let's move it. Move it back a little further. So now we've got our sphere, and I'm going to switch this to hardware render and turn on our lights and our shadows. And we need our light. And if you remember, yesterday we covered our little menu system here. So I'm going to switch to our 3D menu system and add an ambient light. So there we go. We got some ambient light. So the way these shaders work is you just drag them in and create a shader off them. So if we want this rusty metal, I could bring that in, connect to my shader input on my shape. Now I've got rusty metal. If I wanted some tiles instead, I can bring the tiles in, connect them to my shader input. Now we've got tiles. So these are just a bunch of pre-made shaders. And again, you can jump in here and see how they created these shaders. So you can deep dive into creating your own. Under the stylized text section, we just have a bunch of stylized text. So you can drag and drop them in, and you can see how they created these stylized text. And under generators, we just have some various generators, and some of these come in quite handy. So for instance, let's go ahead and double this up. And I'm going to bring a background in. Let's go to our default menu. Background, let's bring our background in. And normally when we do our little color picking, we kind of go here and do what we have to do, find our color. But an easy way is to use this little color wheel under our generator. So we can just kind of have that off to the side. Anytime we need color, we can pop that into another window. If I go to my background, select my picker, I can just use this little color wheel instead to find my color. So it does come in quite handy. And then under our how-to, there's a whole bunch of different how to do things. It's not going to walk you through it, but it'll have the node tree set up so you can kind of see how some of these things work. So for instance, our ambient occlusion, if I bring that in, it's going to bring in this giant node tree. Well, not too giant. Giant if I expand it, but this is going to bring in our node tree. And if you just follow to see where your final node is for your output, you can bring that in and see what that node is doing. And like I said, it's not going to be an actual tutorial on anything, necessarily how to, but you can just kind of deep dive into it and see how they created this look. Same with our little light wrap here. We can bring that in and see how they created this light wrap. But hopefully Fusion comes out with its own little light wrap node, because we use that in compositing all the time. Hopefully they do, and we won't have to run through nodes like this just to create a little light wrap. But if you want to see how that's made, there you go. That's how that's made. Additionally, it'll have any extra OFX that you have installed. Like I have some Carta from Cartaverse stuff, so that'll show up. Same with under your effects. This is where anything that you have additional set up will show up. And then finally, we have the LUT section, and this is just going to show any LUTs you have installed on your system. So that is the effects tab. I will see you in the next episode.